A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Immediately after feeding the crowd with the 5 loaves and 2 fish, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. And after he had dismissed the crowd, he went up the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. But by this time, the boat, battered by the waves, was far from the land, for the wind was against them. And early in the morning, Jesus came walking toward them on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, saying, "It is a ghost." And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." Jesus said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat, started walking on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he noticed the strong wind, he became frightened, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and caught him, saying to him, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." Why did you doubt? Why? This why must have reverberated a long time in the mind of Jesus, in the mind of Peter. Why? 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 Because Peter was not focused on Jesus, was not focused on God. He was focused on his fellow disciples. Oh, I'm the most daring one. I'm the most close to Jesus. The one that even more goes first to impress his fellow disciples, to impress on them this ID. I'm the one. And so faith is not focused on other human beings. It's focusing on God. Focusing on God. Putting our trust more and more in God. How do we do that? Because it's difficult. Since our birth, and even before birth, we focus on other people. We need other people. And if it's not for material things, it is for their opinion, for their judgment on ourselves. And so it's extremely deep-rooted in us. What other people think about me. It's there. And even we don't realize it. It's so natural. It's so... and then we have to enter someone else, another human being. God, the creator of all things. And we have to go toward focusing more and more on God and less on human beings. We cannot focus totally on human beings and totally on God. This is not possible. The more we focus on God, the less we focus on other people. The more we focus on other people, the less we focus on God. And that's why Peter was feeling so sure of himself. Jesus commands me to go with water. He cannot fail. Yes, it did fail because it depends on your faith, on your focus on God, on your trust in God. And how do we grow in this focus on God, in this trust in God, the way Jesus did at the beginning of this gospel? We know he learned that John the Baptist had been beheaded, and then he left where he was to go to a quiet place. And so he needed this more intimate contact with his Father and his humanity. He knew he was the next one. The one who announced him was beheaded, and the next one will go through martyrdom. He was the one. And so he needed that time with his Father. And that's the example for us. Time in prayer. And Jesus goes up the mountain. That means he leaves the plain where all the action is and all the distraction and everything. Go up the mountain to get away from this. Silence. Not only outside silence, but silence inside my head, my mind. All those thoughts going. So I have to let them die down and focus on God, on faith, on trust in God. And to focus on Jesus. God the Father sent us Jesus to be one like us. To focus. What do we have to focus on Jesus? What do we have that makes us sure that we focus on Jesus, and not only on the idea that we have about Jesus, the idea that we have about what he says, but that we focus really on Jesus. His word. Jesus sent His word, the word of God, the infinite And so with the Word, I'm sure I'm in contact with Jesus, with God. I'm sure. And there is no other way. No real other way. And faith, trust in God, comes from the Word that we assimilate. And so if we want to grow in our faith and do things that now maybe we cannot do, and do more of those things, then much less focus and less importance on what other people think, and more on what Jesus thinks, on what God the Father thinks.